Hey, folks, it's Dizzy, and I wanted to release this basically hour of conversation between me and Aaron Jumps 365 because it was a lot of fun talking to him, and I think it's entertaining. The story is that we got together and did an interview on a Saturday, um, and I've already released that podcast. I thought it was actually quite good, but I think both of us thought we could do a little bit better. And so we connected again on Sunday and had a conversation. And this is what came of it. I really hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for tuning in. Cheers.
Yeah. Cool. I was I was thinking about you earlier, and so you're 6'7". So how long is your rope? Like I know a lot of manufacturers ship ropes that are like 9 feet or 10 feet, and I'm guessing you don't adjust them that much because you're so tall.
I'd actually take loads off. So
Do
so
you?
when I first started, it was literally out the packet, and then it was. So obviously your arms are wider, aren't they, when you first start?
Yeah.
So
Right.
there wasn't long enough, so I had to buy one that was super long, and it was like this is for like a
So
seven
that
foot
you could keep
person.
your arms way out like that.
Yeah, so I could jump like this.
Yeah.
Um, but then over time, like so now it's like to my hips to the skipping rope. So
Sure.
obviously I'm cutting loads off when I get them now. But yeah, when I
Yeah.
first started, then I'd be looking because when you start shortening your rope. But I'm still
Hmm.
trying to buy the ones that are way too long for me, and I turn it up and I'm like, this is way long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a specific target? Like when you're sizing a rope, do you know exactly how many inches you need? Like if you get a new rope, or like
Uh,
what I did initially was like target my belly button. So if I stand on the rope and I hold it like this, and I try to get the handles so that they go to my belly button. So that, or a little shorter now. How?
it does depend on the rope. Like a weighted rope, you need it a little bit longer because you need to put more momentum in. Um,
Hmm.
a speed rope you can get away with a little bit shorter because you can just crouch down. So it does depend. But I normally do go for like under my belly button sort of area.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
I've
I
seen
don't know.
like those.
Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
When you stand on it, do you stand on it with one leg or two legs? Yeah,
I do one leg. So I
yeah,
just
one leg.
kind
Yeah.
of put it under one foot and then pull it up and try and get it so that it's at my navel or short. And lately I've been doing it a little bit shorter. The other thing I've noticed is that with these, beaded ropes where I've got ties like that, sometimes after jumping for a little while, the rope just stretches naturally or the knot slips a little bit. And so I will start to feel it like I'm hitting the bench or I'm hitting the ground more. And so I'm often doing rope surgery while I'm out there, like adjusting
Yeah.
my length. But yeah, I found that for me, because I'm like when I make ropes, I make them with these 2-inch beads. And so 42 of them is what I need for a rope for me. And that's 84 inches, not including the handles. And so I can just kind of measure it and know that that's pretty much where I need to be, plus or minus.
Unless you miscount and then you're like, oh, why is it so big?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've not.
Um,
I should probably do that to be honest and count how many beads there is. But it'd be interesting to know.
yeah, it
They're all
is.
roughly the same size anyway, aren't they? So
Yeah. I think like a lot of major manufacturers just do 1-inch beads. So, you can just kind of count. What I do is sort of fold it in half and then just kind of 2, 4, 6, 8, count like that. But yeah. I think it's good once I knew my size, it made so much difference because I think I've talked about this before, but especially in my early videos, my rope was just way too long and I really didn't quite understand, or yeah, I don't think I quite understood, and I didn't spend the time to go look up like, hey, what's the right rope size? I got the little recommendation in the packet and did some adjusting, but I would trip up so much. And once I decided, like, I want to be good, I don't want to just be passable. I want to be good. So then I looked at people like Lauren who adjusts her rope so that it's like basically at her waist, which is lower than I go. But when you go that low, it forces you to keep your hands in, because you have to be able to clear the
yeah,
rope. And so that's kind of what I did.
it is tricky doing it. Like because I've got a rope where it's literally to my to my waist. But then, when I'm trying to do tricks and I don't have there's just not enough room to do some of them. It becomes
Right.
a bit of an issue. So I like it
Yeah.
just a tiny little bit longer, so I can swing it around my head and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. You've seen those competitions, like I get these every once in a while on my feed where it's like a competition. I think it often happens in like Japan or different places in Asia where there's speed rope competitions and they use those little wire ropes and they shorten them to the length that they have to like stoop over, and then they just go like fast as hell. Like, and I think they count the skips or something like that.
Yeah, that's. Have you ever tried doing it? It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how
I
they do that.
actually, when I was like, oh yeah, I need to learn how to jump rope, I got on Amazon and I bought a few different ropes and I was like, oh, this one says speed rope, I'll get that. And it's totally one of those wire ropes with a little, ball bearing thing, and not a good rope to learn on, like, especially if you like going fast. If you're learning, for me, beaded is great because it's got a little extra weight and a little more feedback. And when you whip yourself, it's not, I don't know, the wire and the PVC can be, I hit myself so hard today, like a few times, it just almost brought tears to my eyes. I like it, but.
Yeah, the wired ropes definitely, because it's really thin, it really, really whips, doesn't it? And then
Yeah.
I would say the weighted ropes, whilst they're really big and they look like they're going to hurt, they're probably not as bad. It's more like getting punched and not whipped. So it's not too bad, actually.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I totally agree with you.
And the beaded ones are weird, though, like, because it whips you, but because it's got, like, the little gaps in between, it's like a staggered whipping. You get whipped multiple times with the same whip.
So talk a little bit more about your ropes. Like, how many ropes do you have, and what are your standard? What do you have a favorite rope that you always go back to?
So I've got the main beaded rope, which everyone sees, which is blue and pink all day through it. So that's the main one I use for all the tricks. And then I've just got another one from Mirror. She's Mirror What? I don't know if you've seen her, but she sent me one. Which
one did you get?
The weighted one. So it was like
I ordered the same exact one the other day.
Yeah.
From her, the blue one, and I noticed that Skippy Immy just got it, I think yesterday or the day before, and I saw her post a reel about it.
So I've been using that one. That one feels pretty good as well. But obviously I've not got many many beaded ropes to compare that to.
Yeah.
So I have ordered loads of other beaded ropes, which should be turning up soon.
Yeah.
So I'll be giving all them a try. Then I've got loads of speed ropes, absolutely tons of them.
Yeah.
Again, whilst I really like using them and doing tricks with them, on camera it doesn't look like I've got a rope. So
right, I know exactly what you mean. Especially like when I jump at dusk, there's times where I wonder, like, are people just thinking I'm out there just hopping around and moving my hands? Because you can't even see the rope, especially when I'm trying to go fast. But
it is funny. The amount of times I do it, especially when it's like winter and you're doing it, and there's no rope there. You're just moving your arms, and I'm doing crosses, looking like a music composer whilst I'm doing
That's
it.
Right. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
I always do that on my reels. I always I put like an opera song on and just watch me do my crosses with opera music in the background. That's funny.
That's great. You know what I did yesterday as I put on, I was filming myself, and I've got an iPhone, and so I put it in slow-mo and then just filmed myself jumping for, I don't know, 15 seconds or 20 seconds. It was really entertaining. Like when you watch yourself doing stuff in slow-mo, it feels epic. I don't know. It's just like that cinematic, every skip means a whole bunch.
You have to be careful with what you're wearing, though, when you do it in slow motion.
Right. Totally. So when you say speed ropes, are these all PVC rope?
No, so they're the cord, the core ones with the metal core in them.
Oh, okay.
So because I know people call the PVC speed ropes, but then obviously I've only ever known the speed rope with the metal core in. So
yeah,
I guess there's two different types of the same thing.
Yeah, I have a few, or actually, I have one, I think, left that's got that metal cord, and it's totally a speed rope, but it's I would say the width of it, like a normal PVC rope is, 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters, or 6 millimeters. And I think the one that I've got is probably like 2 or 3 with a little wire
Yeah.
in it. And I think I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I broke one of them because I was skipping in the driveway, without a mat or anything like that. And I would skip really fast or whatever. And I wore through it, and in filming myself at one time I was looking at a video going, why are there sparks flying off my feet? I don't get it. And it was because the wire was hitting the pavement and sparking every once in a while. That was crazy.
They're a nightmare, them ropes. Like, the amount I've tuned through, because obviously I've got a mat, and just hitting the mat over and over again breaks them as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I like beads for their resilience. I mean, I definitely wear away at beads, but I also like that feedback. They've got sort of that balance between a heavy rope and a speed rope. And also, I don't know if you do this, but if you go and use a heavy rope for a while and then downgrade to a beaded rope for, like you're jumping with a heavy rope for 20 minutes and then downgrade to a beaded rope, you feel like, oh my gosh, I can move this thing so fast. And then you downgrade to a PVC rope or the speed rope, and you feel like Superman. Like, it's so much easier to move that. I don't know. I have fun doing that.
that's how I train. I use my heavy rope all the time, and then I switch to the beaded rope. So when people are like, "Oh, you're going really quick," I'm like, "Yeah, because I've just been using every rope before."
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious, were you a pro at Instagram before you started doing your jumping sort of diary, or have you learned about Instagram as you've gone? Because I have learned as I've, set up my account. I'm still learning.
I don't really know about Instagram even now, but all I ever do is I put the videos on, put them together, and then just use the same filter for the middle bits.
Yeah,
And that's as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I'm always in. I don't know on your phone, but on mine there's like a little button that you can switch it to follower mode, or it could just be the open mode. I'm never ever in that open mode, which it's not ideal because I never see new skippers, but I'm just constantly looking at what everyone else is doing in my follower feed.
Oh, okay. So, like, you can filter your feed so that you're just looking at the things of your followers, or that it can suggest public stuff as.
Yeah, so I put it on follower mode, and then I scroll to the bottom. So obviously, it's only to my last post, and then I react to everyone. All the posts in the middle of my last post and the other post. Yeah, so it is stressful when I get loads of new followers, and I'm like, there's more people in my feed.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can't comment on everything because there's not enough hours in a day. So, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that when I started this separate Instagram handle for Skip Squad Chronicles. And like, if I post a video and then I tag myself as a I post it as Skip Squad Chronicles, tag myself as a collaborator, and then tag you, then anytime someone comments, we all get notified, and it can add up really quickly. Yeah, I start to get stressed. Like, did I answer everybody? Did I say something nice?
Yeah, I always like to respond to everyone. I'm not. It's weird because I'm not the greatest at receiving compliments. If someone gives me like a really big compliment, and then I'm just like, I don't really know what to say. Thank you. So I just put thank you with a smiley face. But it's not like it means more to me than the thank you and a smiley face I've put there. But
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it can be awkward. This guy that I know years ago, I went through this health issue, and he was very supportive. And at one point I was talking to him about the reactions from other people and the outpouring of support that I got. And he was saying, people want to see you succeed. They want to participate, and this is how they can do it. So let them do it. And I think of that in the same way with compliments. Like, I get compliments where people call me, things like the shuffle king or stuff like that. And I'm no king. And there are so many people who are so much better than I am, but it's nice. I mean, it's nice. And I've learned to say thank you and not like argue with them. Like, no, I'm a doofus, but I do slip that in there periodically.
Yeah, I used to do that when people would comment saying, "Oh, you're really good," and now like tagging in the other people I thought were better than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've stopped doing that now. It's the
So,
same, when you're commenting on people's stuff as well. So like, I'll
mhm.
really like it, and then I'll just put fire, brilliant, and then post that, and I'm like, oh, that's not enough. Why do I comment that? But yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I struggle with typing and words and stuff, so it's not
Yeah.
meant
I
just to be.
guess, as you know, I don't know about you, but when I get a comment from somebody that's just fire, brilliant, it means a lot to me still. It's someone
Yeah,
had left a comment. They cared enough to leave a comment rather than just hit a heart. So I still like that. And sometimes, like when I'm feeling busy, I like drop the horns and a smiley face, and that's about it. But yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. When I'm on the
yeah,
recipient end, that feels nice.
yeah. It does. When people leave it to me, it's obviously the support's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's a weird one because I don't obviously do it for followers or anything like that, and I edit my videos so they don't appear on the feeds. I think it 17 seconds is the ideal time. I think I heard, but I make
For
mine 1
real?
minute 30. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's 17, and I make mine 1 minute 30 every single time because I'm not one for alt fame and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. 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 I know I got sort of caught up in that at first because I would get these, marketing people suggested in my feed, and they would talk about how your reel should be under 5 seconds and it should have a really big hook and stuff like that. And I was sort of feeling pressure, like, am I doing Instagram wrong or whatever? And then I realized, I'm doing this for me and I like this song. I want to hear more than just, one little chorus or whatever. I want to hear the song and I want to see what I could do. And so I do the same thing. I'm not always a minute and a half, I do have shorter stuff, but I don't feel bad
Yeah,
about using up a little extra time. And honestly, that's one of the things that I like about watching your videos is like, you do you.
yeah. I like to look back. When you look back and go out to progress. Where
Mhm.
if I only ever made small reels, I wouldn't be able to tell my progress. So I like to put a little bit extra in every time.
Right.
And then
Like I could cherry pick 17 seconds that would make me look brilliant, but
yeah. Well, because I always think you go outside and do a combo, like how I do it. I can get lucky once. I could go outside and get lucky and do it straight away. But the way
Mhm.
I do it, I've got to get lucky 3, 4 times to make up that 1 minute 30. So
Yeah.
it is fun. It works for me. Keeps me moving.
Yeah. So where do you go from here from a jump rope perspective? Like I think I asked you a little bit about goals, but like what's next for you? What do you want to get good at next?
So I've been playing around with the leg cross moves. Seeing how that is. Again, it's quite hard. My legs are massive, so I, I
So
look
when
quite
you say
comical
leg
doing it. But
cross, can you explain what those are? Is that like the toad?
yeah, the toad, Orsamani, the elephant, all the moves like that, where you're doing the cross at the same time, like just underneath your legs and all that sort of stuff.
So are those are all like one-legged things, right? Where you kind of like loop the rope around one leg and then you're kind of getting around it in some fashion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I believe so. There probably is leg crosses that are 2 legs, and I just haven't
Yeah.
unlocked them yet. So
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've seen people that can do those leg crosses so much, and I think it's really impressive. I don't imagine that that's ever going to be me. Like I don't aspire to be really good at leg crossing. I want to be really good at releases and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the great things about the community is there's so many people doing so many different things and it's fun.
I think it's when you start getting good at something. So like I started out with the crosses only, and then you start unlocking a few things. So I was doing crosses and footwork when I first started, but then I was getting good at crosses, so then I started doing less footwork.
Hmm.
So it all depends on what you become naturally good at. You're more likely to push that, aren't you, than something you struggle with. Is the way I see
Yeah,
it
I think
anyway.
so. I think, yeah, when I talked to Richard about that, I think there's this, for me, there's a certain element of, I know that I need to learn how to do releases more, and I will practice for, 20 or 30 minutes doing that sort of stuff, but it's not flow. It's work and it's often frustrating and and disappointing. So when I've had a stressful day at the office, so to speak, which is I work from home most of the time, But when I've had a stressful day at work, I will often go out and just prefer to flow. And so I will deliberately not work on new stuff and just see if I can get to that point where I've turned my brain off.
Yeah, that's the best part of skipping, though, isn't it? Like, I know we all try to learn new moves and new stuff, but the most important thing is to have fun. So you can't go out every day and go, right, I'm going to learn a new move, new move, new move. It's just become a nervous wreck by the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you find, like, do you get to that point where you sort of lose time, or that you're sort of just flowing and you're not thinking about anything else? You're just kind of moving?
Yeah, so with some of the crosses, so like some of the videos I'll do is just me just doing crosses. So it might, like, to people who don't do all the crosses like I do, obviously it looks a little bit complicated, but I've done them that many times, it's just normal for me to skip like that. So like when I'm skipping off camera, I'm still doing all crosses. It's just how I skip.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
which I
You're
should imagine the same for you
relentless about
off
the
camera.
crosses. Sorry.
Off camera, you'll be doing loads of footwork as well, won't you? You're not just jumping up and down. If we're doing what we do, like what's on being recorded is actually what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do like for me, sometimes when I get to that flow place where I'm not really thinking so much, I do naturally experiment, or I just let, like, maybe I'll miss a step and then realize, oh, that was kind of a half beat on the music or whatever. And I'm always listening to music. So even sometimes mistakes are kind of like happy little accidents, and then I can repeat them and work them into a footworky thing that makes me happy. Yeah.
But I don't get too many of them with mine. Only if it's a mistake, it's whipped and it hurts.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can't imagine that you have much time to think, because your style is really like one cross after another. Like, if you watch me, I'm jumping and then occasionally doing crosses and whatever, but you never just jump. You are like cross this, cross that. Like, it's one, you're relentless. I can't, like, how do your arms not kill you at the end of the session?
So I'll sort of break it down. So I'm not thinking, right, I'm doing a crossover EB. I'm not thinking of all the moves. I'm thinking, I'll do this crossover, and then those crossovers follow that crossover. So I'm thinking like quite far in front of the moves that I'm actually doing.
You're playing rope chess, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, planning out ahead. That's cool. So you just kind of flow, but you're kind of going from move to move based on where your hands are, or like what comes naturally next.
Yeah. So it's just use, like, I don't know if you heard of Uncle Roger, where he just says use feeling. But yeah, it's just literally using feeling. So if I do one move, I know that there's only 3 possible moves, but if it's coming a certain way, then that's the move I need to do. Yeah, it's one of the awkward ones, but then to explain. But then likewise with footwork, when you're all doing all your crazy steps and such stuff, I can't figure that out. Mine's like a planned footwork, and I'm like, this is the next step, then this is the next step. Yeah. I can't just free flow footwork like that. I'll just do the same one over and over again.
Yeah. I think for me, it's very much tied to the music. And so that influences what I'm doing, the speed of the beat, and that whatever else is going on in the music. Sometimes I try and pick that up, but that will totally influence how I'm moving. I was curious, do you consider yourself an introvert?
Yes, massively.
You seem pretty introverted to me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I consider myself an introvert as well. I force myself to do some extroverted things, or, some things where I'm talking to people like this. But I find that, like, Instagram and connecting with people there is a lot less stressful than, showing up and talking to someone in person. And I think it's kind of tailored for introverts. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but
yeah. So if like if I'm like doing a tutorial for someone, I'm like super nervous doing that tutorial, so I have to like put a character on, and I'm like jumping into the camera like, "Hello, it's Aaron." But that's literally not what I'm like in the slightest. So if we was to have a big meetup, I'm going to go in the corner somewhere and hide.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. But it's weird when you're so tall because people think, oh, he's gonna be so confident and loud, and then I'm so quiet and reserved. I'm trying to hide in
Yeah.
the corner.
Right, right. I was thinking about that. Like, I think it was maybe Becky was talking about going to a meetup in London, or yeah, because I think she met Lauren, and just tons of people in one place. And that simultaneously sounds glorious to me, like to be around a whole bunch of people that are jumping rope like that, and also kind of scary. Like I might end up, at the border, kind of, I don't know. But I think I
Yeah,
would have a lot of fun, and then I would go home and I wouldn't talk for 2 days.
I think I'd be extremely nervous. I'd be okay with the skip rope in my hand, but then when someone else is trying to talk to me, I'm like, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah.
yeah, like I remember me and my mates, we will get together, and then they're all talking, and I'm just trying to think of something funny to say, and then I end up saying nothing.
Yeah.
Just silent the whole time.
Yeah. Have you ever done like skipping with somebody, like a coordinated routine or something like that?
No, no.
Have you ever, Rick,
Obviously,
tried to remix like someone's I notice people will do that, where they'll like pick a Lauren routine or somebody else's routine and then remix it, where they're kind of doing head to head and they're copying their moves.
no, I've not done it. It doesn't interest me so much. Like if I see someone skipping their own way, I don't like to try and copy them. So that's why I
Sure.
don't really watch tutorials or anything like that. Well, I'll watch a tutorial, but then I'll not watch
Mhm.
the next 16 tutorials by that same person because I don't want to skip like
Sure.
them. I just want to learn that one
Right.
move.
Right.
So,
So that explains why when I jumped in a skirt that weekend and then challenged you to remix my reel, you didn't even respond. Yeah,
I
I
do.
called out like 3 people, like,
Yeah.
come on, guys, who's going to remix me? And it was just crickets.
I have done, but some of my old ones, I have been in a pink tutu and stuff like that. So
Oh my God. I have to find that.
yeah,
Yeah.
with the cancer research stuff, I was doing a lot of stuff. Like the kids were like, "Oh, wear that today, Dad," and I'm like wearing a shower cap and a dress.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super funny. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was like I mentioned before, I've heard from several people how helpful you are. And you mentioned earlier, like doing tutorials for people and like what motivates you to help people? Like, why do you do that?
So sorry, I was a quick drink, but so when someone's struggling to get a move, like they've learned all the moves and like there's no more moves left for me to learn. And then I'm like, what move do you want to learn? Like a crossover or something like that. And then I think sometimes just sending them a little tutorial helps them, keeps them spurring along and keeps on doing it. Because I've been in them situations where I think I've done all the moves. Like that's it. I've completed skipping. But you haven't, have you? There's so many moves to do. And then of course
right?
you need to like, how am I going to do this move? Because I only know 6 moves, for example. Yeah, it's just to stop people getting stuck. And having to. Obviously, there's loads of coaches out there, but they're all going to charge you for how to do it.
Sure.
Or, I don't know if you've seen them. It's like the how-to videos, and no one's talking. So it's just like do this move, but it's like but you've not explained it. And if someone's stuck on the second bit, how do they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
So
exactly what you mean.
I like to break down the move and say, if you do it like this will be easier. This is the easiest way of doing it. And then I'm trying to show from every angle on how to do that move.
Yeah. I find that super helpful. And also the what not to do is like, be careful when you're trying to do this move because like I do have the Fancy Feats app from Lauren and I think she's a fantastic teacher and she will oftentimes say, here's how you do the move. And here are the things that people often get wrong. Like they come out of the move and their hands are too far apart or something like that. And so I find that super helpful because then I watch myself for like, am I coming out of the move with my hands way far apart? And that's what's tripping me up.
Also, when you're teaching people, so like I always recommend them. They send me a reel back, or like a video on direct messages, and just so I can see how they're doing, and help from that point. So they're not stuck on it for ages, just constantly like, I can't get this tutorial. I'm like, well, just do this little bit, and then the next time I do one, I'm like, well, this person was struggling on this, so that's an issue that can happen. and then it just slowly builds up over time, and you can be more, quicker in helping and
Yeah.
a bit more direct with it. But yeah, I
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it. I don't like it when they, like I get a big round of applause and everyone's just like, "Oh, good job, Aaron, for teaching them that." Like, don't do that. Just learn the move
Yeah.
and pretend I didn't teach you.
Don't talk. Don't talk about me. Don't
Yeah.
say anything nice. Whatever you do, but
Yeah,
just learn the
they'll be
move.
nice.
Yeah, that's
But
hilarious.
like some of the other sports I've done before, so skipping rope, jumping rope is like really supportive and stuff. But then the
Mhm.
other communities, they're really negative, and I got kind of used to of someone just like telling me you was you're bad at that, you're bad at that, and then I'll get better at it because they're telling me I'm bad at it.
Mhm.
So I've sort of become that person to myself, like, oh, you're terrible, you need to learn this.
Yeah.
So then obviously when someone tells you you're great, but then you're telling yourself you're terrible, it's sort of cancels each other out. But
Do you find that you have a lot of negative self-talk like that?
yes. So
Yeah.
every single day I go outside, I'm negative.
Yeah.
But it does help me, so I'm better. When it is negative or the pressure's on to perform and stuff like that. That's when I'm actually in my element. Yeah, if I'm
Does
really
it
positive about
make you
myself, I'm just
angry?
negative.
Like when you approach it from a negative perspective, do you find that you get angrier or you get hot under the collar?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I like, like, when people say skipping's calm and relaxing, I'm the least calm and the least relaxed you've ever seen anyone skip. I'm getting really aggressive. I'm blaming everyone for, like, I don't know, like neighbor will open his door and I'm like, it's your fault. You've opened that door and it's distracted me. But I have tried to get better with it. I think the other day I highlighted that I had a new unlock and I skipped for an hour and I was still not angry. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
go ahead, please.
sorry. Like because obviously I did weightlifting before, and getting angry is the thing to do. So getting angry, you can lift
Right.
it up. If you're not angry enough, you're not picking it up. So then
Yeah.
obviously I sort of took that philosophy to skipping, which it
Yeah.
works. I do the skipping, but I'm always angry.
That's funny. Yeah, I hate being angry um and so yeah, I really try not to approach it that way. And I am very good at negative self-talk, but my experience is that over my life, negative self-talk has really never helped me that much. Like I don't find it motivating. I find it kind of demeaning and stupid the way I do it to myself. So yeah, I try to give myself a break and laugh it off as much as possible and dance it off too.
Yeah. The way I do it is, I always say to everyone when they watch me skip, the way I skip is how you should not do it. You shouldn't be angry doing it. You shouldn't do it every day. You shouldn't jump as high as I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's several people I follow who have a running joke about their concentration face, like where every time they're, and I think you're kind of like this, where you look like you're, not like you're angry, but like you're very much concentrating and you're not like out there, like, hey, I'm having a good time. It's like, I'm getting something done here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is literally. I always find it funny because I never look at the camera. But I did when I first started, and obviously it was a bit fun, and I was laughing and joking around with it. I would look at the camera the whole time, and then the winter happened, and it was I've got like a circle light, and it was starting to hurt
Okay.
my eyes looking at it. So that used to make me angry. So then the whole time now I just look at the floor. Even in the summer, the light's not there, but I can sort of see it in my head.
Funny. Yeah. So I asked you what's next. So as far as like what you want to learn next or where you're going to go next, what's your dream skill?
See what's next for me is it's quite an awkward one actually because obviously I did the 365 skipping
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't stop. I just carried on going.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm thinking in the year, do I just thing? Do I just spin off skipping and do something else? But then yeah, it's an awkward one because obviously I still want to do the skipping, but then I want to do like a new challenge. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Outside of skipping. So like within skipping,
Yeah.
do you have a dream goal there? Like I want to be able to do the toad?
not not so much. I want to improve my footwork,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to do the leg crosses and stuff. But well, I've unlocked all the moves I wanted to do when I set out.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like moves I don't actually know. I don't even know the name of them. So I'm
Yeah.
just literally looking on people's reels and going, I'll try that move, or I'll try skipping backwards and doing the tricks backwards instead.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I think that's one of the things that's so cool about the jump rope as a hobby or as a, jump rope in general is that there's always something more to learn. Like if you really want to keep going, like, yeah, if you feel like you've got everything forwards, then start doing it backwards. Like, yeah, there's always something more to learn. And I would certainly love to learn to be a better rope wrangler like you. I don't think I will ever have the energy to like do cross after cross after cross, but yeah, you've definitely got a style, and I like it.
it doesn't need to be as probably as intense as I do it. So you learn a crossover, and you do a couple of crosses, then you'll learn an EB on one side, and then the other side, and then it just slowly builds up over time.
Mm-hmm.
So like my early videos, I'm just doing a cross and that's it. That's
Mm-hmm.
all my moves.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first ones, because I learned the crossing really early, it would take me half an hour to get one cross in the video. But
Yeah.
yeah. So it is
Yeah.
nice to see the progress. When I look back at my first videos where I'm just jumping, and just to get that 30-second of clip of just me jumping, that was an
Yeah.
ordeal.
I know exactly what you mean, especially like when I started and my rope was too long and I just didn't have the experience. Yeah, it felt like a win to get like 15 seconds in a row. Like, oh my gosh, I skipped without goofing up after.
Then that actually post like, yes, I've got a post. I've got a post.
Right, right. That's great. Or
And
I would
then
just string together a bunch of like, 15, 10-second things, would splice them together so it made it look like, well, I wouldn't try to
yeah.
make it look like I actually did it consecutively, but
I have on some bad days I've like, right, let's put it all so it looks like I've
Mhm.
done it all in one go. But like now I would just do that was one combo, that was another combo, that was another combo, and it's normally pretty clear, or I hope it is, that it was separate combos.
Mhm.
Normally because I've gone to an open skip, so
Mhm. So, do you always skip on a mat?
yes, because I like to skip barefoot, and barefoot on concrete is a little. Oh, to be fair, like I don't mind jumping on concrete and skipping, but then you get like a little stone and it slashes your foot open, and a little bit of glass and it goes straight into you. Yeah, so I always try
Back
to use
when,
a mat now.
yeah, back when I did kickboxing stuff, I took my rope into a parking lot one day and was like, "Oh yeah, it's so nice outside. I'll just take off my shoes," and I skipped on it, and it was warm out, so I skipped on the pavement for, I don't know, a half hour or whatever, and I actually blistered underneath each one of my toes. I had huge blisters.
I think, yeah, I've got on my big toes, from the barefoot skipping. When
Mm-hmm.
I've gone for too long, I've rubbed it off. I literally rubbed the skin completely off both my big toes. And then it's blistered, and then I keep popping the blisters, and it's just constantly like layers of blisters on one toe on each foot. It's
You'll
pretty
cut
disgusting to look at, but no one looks at your big toes, fortunately.
right, right. And now you've got those kind of aqua sock things, or I think of them as aqua
Yeah.
socks, but what is the actual name of those kind of shoes?
They're barefoot shoes, so it's the
Barefoot
same
shoes.
as honestly, all it is just like a tiny little bit of rubber, just protecting your foot from the floor. But apart from that, it's just barefoot.
Just like latex or something like that. So it doesn't give you a lot of padding or cushion.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's as little cushion as you can have, really, which is
Mm-hmm.
ideal for me because, like, I don't know if you've seen me when I've done it with actual trainers on. I'm jumping like super high off the floor, because like I can jump high, so when I've got the trainers
Mm-hmm.
on, I'm not feeling the same impact on the floor. So I'm just
Yeah.
literally bouncing like super high off the floor. Then everything's
Yeah.
heavy, which I do jump high with barefoot, but I jump even higher with shoes on. So
Yeah. I notice that, since I'm older, my knees are not great. Well, even when I was younger, my knees weren't great. but I kind of have to jump with shoes, and sometimes after I've jumped with flat-soled shoes for quite a while, which I'm very partial to because they're good for dancing too. I have to put on like running shoes or something that has a little more padding to it so that I can ease a little pressure off my knees and ankles and stuff. But
I
I'm
think
surprised that with your
most people in the
football,
world, sorry,
go ahead.
most people in the world, shoes are the thing you need to jump in.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, one thing I found is like skipping on a mat is different than skipping on concrete or definitely a limestone bench or something. There's a different sort of feel to it. Do you have an adjustment period when you go from concrete to mat or vice versa?
I did with this current mat I've got, which is a stable mat, for horses. So
Oh, really?
that's the mat. Yeah, so it's like 3 inches thick, it's like 2 inches thick,
Oh,
and it's just
okay.
like
So,
a solid rubber mat that I just put it outside and that's it. It just stays in the garden.
okay, got it. So it's quite thick, and so it absorbs a lot more than. So it's kind of taking care of some of what you would wear running shoes for, kind of
Yeah,
padding.
yeah. So it's like a solid rubber. Obviously it's made for horses to walk on it, so there's no give in it.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I have had the fin mats and all that sort of stuff, but this mat's much better, and
yeah.
it doesn't absorb water or anything like that. But yeah, I
Oh,
should
that's
imagine
good.
it does the same thing as what wearing trainers does when you're hitting it
Yeah,
on the concrete. Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Well, so I guess one question that I sort of asked you before, but I'd love to hear you talk about is recommendations that you would have for new skippers, like somebody who's thinking about getting into skipping or someone who's just started out and they see you and they go, "Oh my God, I can't, I'll never be able to do that." Like, what do you tell people like that? Or what would you tell people like
So
that?
when you're first getting into jumping, like when I did the Cancer Research Challenge, getting to 100 skips like in a row is sort of the thing that everyone was striving for, and I thought that was a good idea. Looking back at it, obviously, when I went into that, I was already doing 6,000 skips a day, which wasn't ideal. Um, but yeah, just getting 100 skips a day before you could do any tricks. Like, don't try to do any crossovers. Just try and get to 100 a day, and have fun, like doing that and just focusing on that goal. I think that's the best thing to do. Like, obviously, if you message me and say, "What should I do?" I'm probably going to take you to a crossover, but don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Don't do any of that. Don't try to replicate anyone else. Just try and get to 100 skips, because like in a
Hmm.
row, without tripping. And I think that's the best way of doing it. Because if you try to do tricks too early, you're just going to get super stressed out with trying to do that, as well as trying to get to, just try and jump consecutively whilst doing tricks.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too much, and that's when you're going to get disheartened.
Yeah, I
And
totally agree. I think there's something to be said for like nailing the basics. I know my
yeah,
coach, he said like every time you go skip, I want you to work on the single hand swing. Both hands, you cross it in front of you, whatever. And it may seem boring, but it's like it has so helped me out because I basically do that all the time, the single hand swing, and it really helps. And I think getting those fundamentals down is a really great recommendation because it is tempting to say, "Oh, I want to try and do crosses like Aaron," and I would just get pissed off and
yeah,
go home angry. But I think trying to encourage people the path that gives them momentum is a great idea.
yeah. So you want to start out with the small lock. So you're just trying to get to 100 jumps in a row, and then you'll do a little bit of a box escape, maybe hop on each foot, and just
Hmm.
slowly build up over time, doesn't it? All that's going to happen if you're trying to do all the tricks is you're going to get injured very quickly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and
and also,
frustrated.
not when you're first starting out, definitely don't be doing it every day. Don't be doing what we do when we jump outside for an hour a day. That will
Yeah,
get you injured very, very quickly. And again, the same thing's going to happen is you're going to wake up with shin splints. You're not jumping for 3 4 weeks. It's
yeah,
best just to do a small session and just slowly build it up over time.
yeah.
Which is what I did. So obviously I do over an hour now, but when I was first starting, it was 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 20 minutes,
That's great.
and then obviously you're addicted and it becomes life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I went overboard in the beginning very much so, but and I remember hearing a few different coaches say, yeah, start with like 10 minutes or 12 minutes a day. And I was thinking, that's like nothing. That's like 2 songs,
Yeah.
or 3 songs. But I think it's wise, like that idea of doing a little bit every day, even though it's not the 2 hours that I want to do, you can make better progress because you don't injure yourself, and you can keep up that momentum. And I think that showing up every day and doing that 15 minutes or whatever it is, in the long run, you make more progress and you see more progress than when I go out and I do 2 hours and then injure myself and then can't jump for 2 days. And
Yeah, like your body's not used to the impact of hitting the concrete over and over again. Because you
yeah,
can say to a new skipper, like, so I always say, like with the mirror ropes, when they're like the expensive ropes, aren't they? So I was like, well, I wouldn't tell a new skipper to get that, but people who are already into skipping, I'll tell them to get that.
sure.
Because when you're first into skipping, you've got a cheap rope from Amazon and you've got a concrete floor because that's how you're jumping. You're not going to be buying a £70 mat. You're not going to be buying a
Right.
£70 rope either. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously you need to do a little bit at a time to get your body used to hitting that concrete floor.
Yeah, totally. When did you get, or maybe you were already this way from doing football, but when did you get to the point where you started to realize the benefits, like from a jumping perspective, or like I realized my dog is scratching here on her bed. Zuzu, please. One of the ways that I started to realize that, this was really working for me was my balance. Like my balance became insane, like not insane, but, like I can stand on one leg really easily for quite a while, and I can do, my ankle rotations and stuff like that. In the shower, I can bend over and pick up the soap while standing on one foot, which I don't know. Did you get to a point where you were like, oh my God, look what I've done here?
Yeah, so look, I'll take you back a tiny bit, but before I started the 365 and all that sort of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
when I first picked up a jump rope and I tried to jump one time, my missus was on the floor laughing her head off about how ridiculous I looked jumping.
Really?
So I yeah, it
That's
was
encouraging.
obviously I was quite a heavy guy at the same time, so I did like my arms were around here and I was trying to jump in the air. Then yeah, I always say to people when they're like, oh, they want to get to my level, they don't think they'll ever get there. It's like I struggle to
Mhm.
jump off the floor,
Yeah.
let alone do what I'm doing now. So yeah,
Yeah.
I literally had to learn one jump, two jumps, three jumps
Yeah.
all the way up. So
Yeah.
yeah, obviously now what I can do with the rope is significantly better than what I could do back then.
Yeah.
And my balance, I was like super clumsy. My balance was off.
Mhm.
Literally all I had was strength. I could pick up things, but then
Yeah.
I could pick up things, and then I would be going up, and then it's like that up.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like coordination and balance and everything's so much better to what it was when I first
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
And obviously doing a release and catching the handle again, but I didn't think that would ever happen. So
I know. That looked miraculous to me when I first saw it. Like that I just could almost not process being able to do that. Still, sometimes I still watch some people do releases so smoothly and so perfectly and think I got to get there at some point. And I guess by showing up 15 minutes a day or an hour a day or however long I do it, I eventually will get there. But
But the good thing with the release is you can sort of practice that in your garden, can't you? You don't have to go
yeah,
anywhere to skip. You can just swing your rope round, try catch it, swing your rope round, try catch it, and you can just keep doing that for ages, or
yeah,
until you start getting angry, and then obviously put it to the side.
right. Get
So
to the
like
point where I'm
when
sweating at it.
what I've tried to do when I'm learning tricks now is try to learn 3 or 4 at the same time, so I'm not getting self angry. Which is that's another thing I would recommend to people trying to learn new tricks. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And just like learn a couple of things at the same time and progress a little bit on that one and a little bit on that one. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. So, like, if you're trying to learn a few different tricks, maybe you spend 10 minutes on one and then just go to the other one, regardless of whether you've nailed the first one.
Yeah. So it obviously if you noticing that you're doing really well on one of them, you obviously to sort of stick on that one and finish it off and see you've learned it. But then if you go out and you've spent 10 minutes on it and you get no further forwards, have another trick in mind, then spend 10 minutes on that. Maybe 3 or 4. And obviously don't make them all super hard. So you're just going to spend the whole day and you've failed every trick. Have one that you sort of think, I'll get that one. I know I'm going to get that one. Yeah, I think that's the best way of doing it. And that's how you can increase your skills quite quickly as well. Because obviously you're trying loads of different things at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. And having goals that are measurable and that are beyond where you're at, but that aren't like, hey, I'm going to jump like Lauren right now, because that could just be self-defeating.
Yeah, because you don't even have to do any tricks at all. You can just jump for numbers. So you could do 100. Then when you've got to 100, it's like, right, my next goal is to do 200 in a row, then 300 in a row, then 1,000 in a row. And that's another great way of doing it. And then obviously if you're doing 1,000 in a row without tripping, and then you go to do tricks, you're going to find them so much easier because you're not used to tripping. And
Right. Yeah, you have that basic rhythm down, and Well, this has been so fun. I really love talking to you, Aaron, and I really appreciate you spending the time with me to do this. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the community or folks out there?
Thank you for supporting me. Actually, I would like to say that.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's been really good to connect with everyone out there. Which it's obviously as an introvert, it's kind of weird to meet new people. I don't really do that, so it's nice to do that online, having that online place where you can post your videos and interact with everyone else's at the same time.
Yeah. I think it's quite magic. I just love the jump rope community and how positive, relentlessly positive it is. Like, even I've said it before, even when I know my jumping was, pants, people were saying, slapping me on the back and saying, keep going, man, you're doing good. And that really helped. Yeah. And so I want to be that person to other people too,
I've had those videos as well when I post it. I'm like, this is absolutely horrendous. And then everyone's like, no, that was really good. And it does help. So then the next time you go out, you're not thinking of how bad you did the day before.
Right.
You're sort of thinking, I did well. I did well yesterday.
Yeah.
Which obviously, if you're not posting online or having that support around you, that's when it can start spiraling, can't it? As you had a bad session, the next day you have a bad session, the next day you have a bad session. All you're thinking about is, I'm no good at this.
Yeah.
So
I think another thing that I've noticed is that I can be more objective about your videos than you can, and vice versa. So I might watch one of my videos and think, oh, this is terrible. Like, why did I even post this? But I may be doing something in that video that is impressive to you, or that, you see in a different way. Whereas I went through the thing emotionally as well as physically. I've noticed that several times where someone will say they will make a compliment about something I'm doing in the video, and I never saw it, but it meant something to them, and it's kind of cool.
Also, you never know who you're inspiring either.
Right.
So, obviously there's the other jumpers, and we all know each other, but there's other people who follow all of us who don't jump, and or they do jump, but they don't post it. And obviously, you're inspiring them people as well. So when you're like, this is a terrible session, and put it on like I do, it's not great for them people when they're like, well, that's better than I can do. And I just want to be like you, and you're telling me that you're terrible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've had that happen several times where, like, I have my Instagram connected to my Facebook. So when I post a reel, it automatically goes over to Facebook. And I'm connected with a whole bunch of people from, nerd conferences and stuff like that. And so I've had it happen where I'm in a Zoom meeting that is about search engine optimization or something like that. And then somebody in there says, hey, dude, I really love your jump rope videos. And I'm so taken off guard because they see them on Facebook and they're like, yeah, I watch them all the time. They're great. But they never like comment or interact with them. But that's kind of cool. Like you said, you never know who you're inspiring. And I think, if you can skip 100 skips in a row, you're doing something more than a whole bunch of people can do. And that's an accomplishment, and you should pat yourself on the back on it about that, and keep going.
Yeah, the only session that's truly a bad session is the session you don't do. So if you just go,
Yeah.
I come up with an excuse to not do it. Obviously, if you're injured or something, that's different. But if you just come up with an excuse and not do it, that is the worst session you've had.
Right.
And then the next day, if you do the same thing, that is the second worst session you've just had.
Yeah.
So it's just showing up and doing something every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Which
think
is the
that getting
hashtag I use,
started
do-
sometimes is the hardest part, right? Like when you're not feeling it. But once you get started, for me anyway, it's like, oh, okay, this is awesome. You know, I just lose myself.
It's like going to work, isn't it? Like you wake up and you're like, I can't bother to go to work. Then you go to work and it's like, well, I might as well work 'cause I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like just entering a gym or just jump in a couple of times. If you go outside or if you travel to the park and with your jump rope, you're not going to jump twice. You got to, you like in your head, tell yourself you're going to go and do 2 jumps and then go home. But once you're there and you start doing it, you're not going to, you're going to stay and do a bit more.
Yeah. I bought this backpack at Costco because I liked how many dividers it had in there. You know, it's got like a laptop sleeve, and then in the main compartment, it's got several dividers. And so I carry probably, I don't know, 10, 12 jump ropes with me everywhere I go. And yeah, so I'm always prepared. And I laugh at myself for that. But I think months ago, I saw Jenny Just Jump mention something about showing up at the gym with a bag of 12 ropes. And I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And now I just do it all the time. You know, sometimes I have to leave ropes out because I just want to take them all. Do you name your ropes and talk to them like I do?
I definitely don't talk to them as nicely as you do. But no, they don't get any names. But they're all that I would say on here.
Yeah. I name mine, and I will often put in the comments the name of the rope that I was jumping with. And one of the ropes I have is named Kermit, and I call him Kermit the Flog because he occasionally whips me. And someone commented on one of my videos today, like, who's Kermit? You keep talking about Kermit. Who's Kermit? It's my jump rope. Doesn't everybody name their jump ropes?
You should get one of your mates to turn up with like dressed as Kermit in the background and stuff, walking around.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Should totally do that. Man, I just love talking to you. Thank you so much for supporting me as well and for coming on the show. This was so much fun, and we will have to do this again. I like that idea of doing sort of like a panel at some point where we could have the Brit panel where we just have a whole bunch of friends from around the UK and do some sort of panel. We'll have to come up with some idea.
Yeah, I think I would enjoy that with loads of us all talking.
Yeah. Right on.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to Skip Squad Chronicles. I'm having a lot of fun and I really appreciate your support. You can help out by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts and giving us a good rating. That helps with visibility. Tell a friend and even send in some feedback through the website at skipsquadchronicles.com. Thanks so much. Happy hopping.